Here I am again, here to talk about depression and late diagnosed autism. And this time I want to talk about how other people can help us. And I realize it can be really overwhelming. This is more addressing people who are in a position to help someone who is depressed or experiencing autistic burnout, or both, or any kind of tragedy or mental health condition. First of all, this is from my experience, so it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, and what works for me may not be the best thing for someone else. So I can only tell you things from my perspective and tell you things that have helped me, or things that I wish people would have done, or ways that I think things could have helped a little better. So please just keep in mind that I'm not a mental health professional. I'm just telling things from my experience. But lately, it's really come to my attention that sometimes people want to help, but they have no idea where to start. And especially when there's no definitive solution, when there's no written plan, course of action that leads to actual results that you can see. And so with depression, as it is with a lot of things, the solution's not that clear, but I can tell you that action is better than no action. Some kind of help is better than no help at all. So taking action is the first step. When I had a meltdown a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago now, I guess it was, my boyfriend really stepped up. I was not able to communicate with him and tell him verbally what was going on. So he is a list guy. He's always got a to-do list going and a to-buy list going and a project list going. So I'm just thinking that lists are the best way to communicate with him, because I tried my long rambling paragraph style before and it's not exactly the most efficient. So I want to communicate to him what's going on with me so that he's not, feeling like in the dark about anything. So I just make a list of all the 20 things that were going on with me that had contributed to my meltdown. And so I make him this list of 20 things and send it to him and tell him that those are the things that contributed to my meltdown. So he just starts taking care of things and checking items off that list. And I didn't ask him to. I didn't send it to him and say, here is a to-do list. He just started taking action with the things that he could do, things that had, an easy solution. He just starts taking care of it for me, so that those are, that's one less thing I have to worry about. And he's just going down the list. And so he takes care of like 10 things from the list that have an actual action attached to them. Other things were like unexpected expenses or whatever that I'd had to take care of already, that had just the stress of it had just kind of added to it. So, but what he could take care of, he just did it. He didn't even ask me. He just started doing it. And if he had asked, I probably would have said like, no, you don't have to do that. It's my responsibility and blah, blah, blah. But so it's good that he just took action, and I had no idea how helpful that could be. But it was extremely helpful. It's just an example of a couple of things. Like, there were plans that I was dreading that he canceled the plans for me. And I didn't, I don't have a problem with canceled plans. I don't like it when plans change, but if it's something I'm dreading, especially, I don't mind if they're canceled. And so he did that. And I had, lost a pair of polarized sunglasses that contributed to sun blindness that morning and me almost hitting a truck head on. So, those are just two things that were something that he could do that just fixed those issues for me. So I know that everyone who is depressed doesn't feel like making a to-do list or a list of things that contribute to their depression. But it could be helpful just to write down a few things. They say that journaling is helpful for depression, and I wasn't doing that as a form of journaling, but I found that journaling, either writing or video journals, can be really helpful. But somehow, if you can discuss with your person anything that they need done, any kind of tasks, any little tasks that are bothering them, that are just kind of, little nagging things that are piling up. Because when I was depressed and going through burnout, I was definitely letting things pile up. And so taking action is something that someone can do to, not only alleviate some of the strain, stress, whatever, responsibility, all of that, but, it's also a way of showing that you care about that person. And so it's always nice to know that someone cares about you. And whenever I was, deep in the middle of my depression, I had asked for help. But since I was an undiagnosed autistic woman at that time, I didn't know how to ask for help, really. I didn't know the best way in which to do that. And I didn't know what kind of help to ask for either. I just, I literally walked into a bathroom at work and I saw a sticker on the mirror that said, if you are depressed, reach out for help. And it gave a phone number. So, I read the writing on the wall and I thought, I have tried everything I can to help myself. I guess I really don't have much of a choice at this point than to reach out. But whenever I, experienced the whole really long waiting list thing for therapy, and reached out to friends and family, that's when I, encountered an error. So I didn't know how to ask them to help me. And I think the people who I approached, as far as I know, are neurotypical and approached me as if I were as well, since I had no idea to tell them that I wasn't. So I think they kind of just thought that I wanted to vent, and that wasn't what I needed. And even if I had, I don't think that it would have been all that helpful. But if I had known to go to them and say, hey, can you come to my house and help me out with a few things? Because it seriously looks like I'm a trash hoarder because I haven't been able to sort my recycling in months. And that was seriously a thing. Like, I saw it and it was stressing me out. And I live in an area where I don't have recycling pickup. So I have to collect it and take it to the recycling place and turn it in and sort it before I get there and all that. So that was just one thing that someone could have helped me with, but I didn't think about things like that. And, once I had a friend stop by though during that time when I was depressed, one that I hadn't reached out to for help, but I hadn't even thought about it. But he stopped by, and I had told him before he stopped by, like, just, I'd love to see you, but I have been depressed, so just be warned, I may not be that fun. So he came by anyway, and he opens my refrigerator, and he says, "Oh my God, dude, are you depressed?" And I was like, "Yes, that's what I was trying to tell you." And he just starts cleaning out my refrigerator for me, which is super embarrassing because he was my guest, and he took it upon himself to just start cleaning out my refrigerator. But it motivated me to get up and start helping, because sometimes when I'm just experiencing that kind of paralysis that comes with depression, sometimes I need like external motivation to get going. And he gave me that external motivation because I didn't want him doing that, especially not all by himself. So I was like, no, I'll do that. And he's like, obviously not, which wasn't offensive at all to me. I just laughed. I thought it was funny because he was right. And so we just start cleaning it out. I'm doing dishes while he's getting stuff out. And, before you know it, it's all done. It's all taken care of. And, it had been getting really bad for months. And just like the recycling. And then that weekend, he just hung out with me. We watched anime, and he's on his tablet asking ChatGPT questions about depression. And at that point in time, it was brand new. I had never even heard of ChatGPT. So that was one avenue that I hadn't even thought to explore, but he's asking it questions about, I am a why person. I always want to know why. And he incidentally was also a why person. So he's asking it why I'm feeling this sense of nothingness and why this and all of that stuff. So I come up with a few answers to kind of help guide me. And so it was a really helpful thing for someone to help me with tasks. 2, for someone to hang out with me and just do an activity that is something that I enjoy doing, and, not be like, hey, get up, we're going to go do something, like, trying to push me to do something. And I'll address that again later. And also, someone doing some research for me, because I would, like with the phone calls, it would have been extremely helpful if someone that I had gone to for help would have offered to make some phone calls for me, because I hate phone calls so much. And I had called a few places, and all of them had these long waiting lists. So I got on the waiting list, but I didn't keep calling, all of the places in the area to see if they all had waiting lists that long, because I was assured by the other places I had already spoken to that they all did. So, if someone had made those phone calls for me, maybe I would have gotten into therapy a little bit sooner. I don't know. So if you have a loved one who's suffering from depression or autistic burnout or both, please offer to make phone calls for them, or just call around. If you know that they are thinking about either getting into therapy or getting an assessment, call around for them and then present them with the information that you found, because it could be extremely helpful, just taking that chunk of effort, off their plate. And it would also, be a meaningful thing to do. Like, it's just extremely hard to do things that, I guess, neurotypical, healthy mentally healthy people find super easy, like picking up the phone and making a phone call, or sorting their recyclables, or, cleaning out the fridge. Things like that seem so easy to some people, but whenever you're depressed and autistic, those things are monumental tasks. And it's really extremely appreciated when those tasks can be at least like somebody could chip away at it, and help. So those are some things that can really help. Their actions. Because, depression is hard to tackle because you don't know what's going on exactly that's causing it. You can't meddle around in someone's brain and, address whatever is happening there. So taking action and just doing tasks for someone, hanging out with them, just like the people that I went to for help, a lot of them, since I have 3 friends that are spread out all over the world, none of them were really local to help. And then the family member that I had sort of close didn't come to see me at my home to see the kind of state that it was in, I guess. And also, don't make it a teachable moment. So this isn't a thing to do, but a thing not to do. Anything about depression or autism, just anytime anyone is struggling, period, don't decide to make it a teachable moment. That is, especially if they're depressed, that is not the time to do that. So if someone comes to you and says, I've been really depressed, don't force them to beg you for help. If if they're saying that, don't make them say, will you help me? Just ask, how can I help? Or, they may not know the answer to that question, but it'll get them thinking, at least thinking about it. But, when I reached out for help, I didn't, have a list of things, and I didn't know how to beg for help. That was just not anything that I've always been kind of hyper independent and try to take care of everything I can myself, because, people haven't exactly been super dependable in my experience. But just asking someone how you can help, that might help get the ball rolling, so to speak. So yeah, it's not good though to just know that they need help, but to hold back until they're forced to ask you, because that's humiliating and degrading, and it feels it's like you just feel the last bit of something leave you when you have to beg somebody for help. And so just don't wait until it's to that point to, just offer assistance. And, maybe I don't know how neurotypical people operate, if they are all like hurt and offended if somebody notices that something needs done, if they're depressed and someone offers to do it for them. I have no idea. But for me, if somebody offers to help me with a household chore or something, I'm totally fine with it. I don't have a particular way in which I need it done. I'm just totally okay with however it gets done. The end result is all I'm concerned about. So, also if someone is entirely picky and particular about it, I can see how it might be an issue, but just see if there's something that they need help with that they are not incredibly picky about. But yeah. So actions, taking action, that is the best way to help someone. Just hanging out with them, doing something in their environment, specifically in their environment. Because, yeah, I had invitations for people, oh, come to see me. Okay, I'm sure that's much more convenient for them, but their environment isn't mine. I'm not comfortable. I wasn't, and again, I'm going out of my way to see them. And I think that maybe it's nice to know that somebody's willing to make a little bit of effort to go out of their way just to come hang out with you if you're depressed. And also, if someone had been in my environment like my friend had, they may have realized, the degree, how bad it really was. Another thing that can help is memes. I know that sounds way too easy and sort of silly, but it can really help. And I'm talking about like absurd humor, puns, dad jokes, completely absurd stuff, dog videos. I think if everyone in the world just stopped what they're doing right now and watched dog videos, the world might be a better place. But dog videos and animal videos can definitely cheer a person up when they're feeling depressed. And I'm not, when I say depression, I want to clarify. I'm talking about a long-term illness. I know a lot of us are feeling down right now. A lot of people are feeling down because of what things that are going on. Depression can be a result of, a long-term result of that. But typically depression, for me, it has always just been, this fog that creeps in slowly. It didn't, that I always had trouble identifying when it started and identifying the cause. So it was, that made it even harder to address. But, and, one thing that doesn't help is comparing yourself to others. And, most people think about, when you hear this, they think about comparing your moments, your worst moments, to someone else's best moments. Well, that doesn't help. We all know that. But I would find myself being depressed and beating myself up about it, saying, what do you have to be depressed about? There are people out there that have it so much worse. Why are you depressed? And therein lies the point. I let the point hit me straight in the face. Depression is something that happens, like clinical depression or any kind of major depressive disorder. Things like that happen when your brain just decides to betray you and trick you into feeling, your body feels like something absolutely horrific just happened to you. And don't get me wrong, bad things have happened to me. But yeah, worse things have happened to other people. But the moment we start comparing, as if when you're depressed and experiencing autistic burnout, when you're going through that and you start comparing what you're going through and saying, well, all these other people have it so much worse. Yeah, they might, but your brain is your brain is basically tricking you into feeling like you're going through something. And so that doesn't mean that you don't feel that way. You legitimately feel like I legitimately felt overwhelming grief for what I would have said at the moment was no reason, but there was a reason. It was just I hadn't gotten around to unsurfacing it yet. But it's unhelpful when you compare yourself to others. I never had a problem with comparing my good moments to somebody else's good moments. I've just never had that sort of social drive or whatever you call it in me where I'm like trying to keep up with the Joneses or anything. Like, I've never had that thing in me that's like, so and so went on a vacation, I want to go to wherever. I never had experienced that kind of thing, but I definitely experience its opposite. Like, so and so had it that bad, I'm a crappy person for feeling sorry for myself when so and so had this happen. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that at all. That means that you're capable of acknowledging that other people suffer also. And it feels really bad when you can't do anything about other people's suffering. But denying your own suffering isn't going to fix theirs. If there is anything you can do to help anyone else, denying your own suffering is only going to prolong the time in which you're able to get, functional so that you can help other people. So don't beat yourself up. So try not to beat yourself up. For all you PDA people out there, beating yourself up is not going to be helpful. I have no idea how to word things. On my best day, I can't word things for any kind of results. So all I should say is that beating myself up got me nowhere. That's where I should just stop. But yeah, I guess my point is, though, that any kind of help, whatever you can do to help, is better than no help at all. But yeah, memes are fun. Just make sure that it's not memes about anything that someone is sensitive about. And try to keep global affairs and politics out of your memes when you're sending them to someone who is depressed, because their mind may just, it's easy to latch onto something and let it spiral when you're not feeling your best. So just keep the humor to something safe. And I don't mean it can't be dark humor. It can be dark humor. It just has to be, dark humor that isn't associated with any sort of reality that's anything that's happening. And when I say absurd humor, I'm talking about stuff like Bananakin Skywalker. For some reason, that freaking cracks me up. Bananakin Skywalker. Yeah, something like that can really brighten somebody's day. And especially if you have a nice little Pinterest board or something of curated memes that you have chosen for this person specially, and you send them things to cheer them up and that are their special interests and not just yours. Because some of us autistic people might laugh at your stuff just because we don't want to hurt your feelings. Like, I understand what you find humorous in this. It just happens to not be my own personal sense of humor, because I like Bananakin Skywalker and you like a certain comedian. So anyway, maybe some of those, in some of my rambling, maybe someone can find something that'll be helpful.